Welcome back. It has been a while, probably around month and a half, 2 months. I've missed being on air. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Uh, I've definitely been missing it. I wanted to do some things during my vacation, but I got caught up in some other things. It's a really busy time. But I'm gonna allow this first few minutes to reintroduce myself a little bit. My name is Landon. Sophomore here at Iona. I mean, my first semester of shows, probably I think I had 8 episodes my first semester. This should be the ninth, might be the 10th. I'm honestly not quite sure, but I'm gonna be honest, it was great. I mean, I got to have one of my best friends on. He'll probably be on again at some point this semester too. I got to have Keith McPherson over on WFAN on, which was a surreal experience. It's great. I mean, my time here at WIUR, I've nothing but good things to say. Coming up this semester, I do have a few more guests coming on. I have 2 confirmed that I have lined up. Jake Kozak from the Bronx Zoo is going to be on my show on my normal time slot on Mondays at 6 p.m. or 6:30. 6:30 p.m. is normal slot. And Giraffe Neck Mark runs a lot of Mets fanfare. I feel like I haven't shown the Mets much love, and I wanted to get someone that would be able to voice their opinions a little bit. It's obviously something I think I need to do, being a New York-based show, is having all the viewpoints on. So I'm excited to have him on too. Obviously, yeah. So I think it's about time I get into some of the cool stuff. So let me what should I say? I think I'm gonna start off with USA Hockey. USA Hockey's had a little bit of a whirlwind these past few weeks. The Four Nations tournament, a little thing that the NHL is trying out this All-Star break. Getting four of the top nations in on there. I want to make sure I have the correct nations. Obviously, two of them are the United States, Canada, Finland, and I can't remember the third one. Um, it is Sweden. Okay, so it's United States, Canada, Sweden, Finland. So it was a round robin style tournament. I don't know if you guys know how that works, but you play a certain amount of games. You get to play all the teams. I think once or yeah, once, and then they compile a certain amount of points. Wins are 3 points, losses are zero, overtime wins are 1 point, and or no, overtime wins are the normal 3 points, and overtime losses are 1 point. So this tournament has shaped up to be probably the dream finals matchup. If you ask me, it's United States and Canada rematch of Saturday night. Gonna touch on that in just a second, but this is what it shaped up to be. United States in their 3 games, won 2, lost 1. They lost their only game on Monday, and when you talk about that, I think a lot of that has to do with some injuries that happened, and it's expected in obviously, they're on a little bit of a break. Hockey is a very aggressive sport, but the amount of injuries that Team USA apparently has is ridiculous. They had Tkachuk leave on yesterday when they played Finland. I want to say they played Finland or Sweden. It was one of those two. Austin Matthews was out. Matthew Tkachuk was out. And also Charlie McAvoy was admitted to the hospital, which obviously crazy. Hope he gets better soon. Need him on the ice for Thursday. I'm gonna be honest, I think most of it outside of McAvoy is a little bit of, hey, let's get our players rested up because I think they had the championship clinched before yesterday night. They did. Did. Um, they are the number 1 seed, so this game versus Canada gonna be played Thursday night, TD Garden, Boston. Actually looked at tickets myself. That's pretty crazy. Um, so this game they had the other day, um, really crazy. Off rip, they play both the American national anthem and the Canadian national anthem, and they say to respect both national anthems. And the Canada's fans were not very happy. Obviously, probably a little bit of political undertones there. Not going to dive too much into that, but the Team USA hockey players really did not like that, and I feel like, yeah, they're out there representing their country. I wouldn't really like that either if they were booing my team. So they had apparently talked about it in the days prior, but the Kachuk brothers dropped their gloves, within, like, the first 6 seconds, and then JT Miller dropped his gloves too. So 3 fights in 9 seconds. A little bit of a whirlwind start there for that game. A game that obviously Team United States had to win, because, in order to make the championship, you needed to win 2 games, and if they wouldn't have won that game, they would have had to win yesterday, and that just didn't seem anything that was feasible with the amount of injuries they had. Um, but the USA found a way to come on top and win 3-1 at Canada's sport. That's a little bit, embarrassing for Canada, but hey, the United States has some great talent now in hockey, because of a lot of the new, development programs they have. I mean, I went to a high school, I went to Pelham High School, and I'm gonna be honest, our hockey program was amazing. They won, 2 state championships while I was in high school and were runner up one of the other years, and there was only 1 year they didn't make it to the state championship, which is kinda crazy. And I look at all these programs and the high school hockey I got to watch, I got a little spoiled with that. My high school hockey games were like a traditional high school's football game. Like, it was an outing. Like, not a lot of schools have a hockey team to begin with, and I was lucky enough to have a hockey team where I went to high school, and watching that was amazing. But I think we're now seeing all this younger talent. This is what I'm trying to get to, all this younger talent that I got to watch in high school and that I feel has been developed over the past few decades is now coming to fruition, and we're seeing it on a national stage with Team USA beating Canada, a known hockey powerhouse. This isn't something that just happened overnight. I don't think USA has beaten Canada in a nationals tournament in over a decade. And obviously, a lot of those players weren't best on best hockey because there was restrictions with NHL players playing in global hockey tournaments. But now the NHL has kind of done a complete 180 there and is actually promoting global hockey, which is something that's great for the sport. And when you talk about that, actually, this was the most successful quote unquote all-star event, because I don't want to call it an all-star event because it wasn't a traditional all-star game. It wasn't like, your all-star weekend. You go out there, you have your skills competitions and all of that. This was something different. This was they gave them, I want to say 2, 3 weeks off. Let's look at the global hockey scene, because every other sport we've been able to see it a little bit. The NBA just competed in the Olympics. The World Baseball Classic's been something that's up and coming. Um, all these different sports have a worldwide component to them, and hockey was not leaning into that when they should have, because there are so many great countries when it comes to hockey. The whole Eastern European wall over there has some great countries when it comes to hockey, and I'm so happy we're starting to see that on nationally televised events, and it's blowing all of these other All-Star game events out of the water in ratings. It has outranked both the Pro Bowl and NBA All-Star game just within the last month. I am not sure if it overperformed the MLB All-Star Weekend, which still seems to be the king of all All-Star Weekend events, because I think it has a lot to do with the home run derby, and I think they can make that one even better. I'll probably talk about that on a later episode about how MLB can maybe make their All-Star event better. I've had the opportunity to go to the home run derby, and in my opinion, it was amazing. But there definitely are some things that even they can improve on. And I think hockey here has a great foundation for something maybe they could do every 2, 4 years. Maybe they could do it alongside the All-Star game. There's a lot that goes into it, and obviously there was a lot that went into it that they didn't have an All-Star game this year, because of this Four Nations tournament, and so, obviously, that whole time frame would have to be worked out, but I think NHL can make this maybe a biannual event, maybe every 4 years. Uh, you know, it's something that I think has made the NHL open its eyes a little bit to what really hockey can become. It doesn't have to just be a United States Canada thing. We can get all these different countries into it. One thing that's been really doing really well on the global scale is professional wrestling. Honestly, is doing incredible. Um, they have touched on a bunch of different countries. Their Raw tour coming up, WWE, is 3 out of the 4 Raws this month are in European countries. Like, this is something that I feel like traditional sports have to take advantage of too. Like, we've seen, like I said, professional wrestling, even the UFC obviously has many events worldwide. And I feel like other sports need to get on top of this a little bit more. Obviously, we've seen certain games like in football, having games in Munich, in London, and all these different countries is great. But I want to see the different talent from these countries. Where does all this talent really come from? I want to see it on a worldwide scale. Like, and I think the NHL has executed that perfectly with the Four Nations tournament. And I'm so excited for the championship game on Thursday. Keeping it with hockey, I want to talk about the New York Rangers. Obviously, New York-based show, focus a little bit more on New York sports than I do on, I would say a wider consensus of it, but I do like to sprinkle some things in there, like the Four Nations tournament, I feel like is something that's great, so I wanna talk about it. But I wanna talk about the New York Rangers now. They obviously had a big trade a few weeks ago while I was off air with, acquiring JT Miller. They traded away one of my favorite players in Philip which I wasn't very happy about. But I also saw where the Rangers are going. The Rangers think the same way the fans are that the window is closing and they need to get someone. So they went out there and got someone that was proven, someone they know can stay on the ice, someone they've had before. This wasn't a rash move like a lot of people are saying, giving up your former first round pick in Filipino and another first rounder. You know, people are like, "Well, why would they do that? They're getting older. They already had JT Miller. They're going to the past." They're trying to get names that are a little bit more well known, that they have the playoff prowess, they have the experience, and they can nurture the younger guys that the Rangers do have, like an Alexi Lafreniere or a Keandre Miller. They want to foster this young talent into a nucleus that can hold them into another championship window. Uh, I mean, the overall consensus there is the Rangers are going full steam ahead. I mean, I can see it being beneficial, but on the other hand, this is a team that already is constructed with overpaid veterans. They just got rid of one in Jacob Truba, which I touched on in one of my last shows. Um, and to see them doing this, yes, it's on a little bit it makes you a little bit curious, but you gotta look at it as a whole picture. The Rangers see the same thing we see. Their window is closing. They have the choice. We get younger and we redo this thing in 2 years, see where we're at. Or we go full steam ahead right now, prepare to win because they see the window is closing, and let's give it our best shot at winning the Stanley Cup, which obviously the Rangers haven't done yet, giving it their best shot, in my opinion. They've acquired JT Miller, but there's still a lot of other holes on this team that they need to, they need to look at. If they really want, if that's the end goal is to win the Stanley Cup, they need to make sure that they are all in on this and they didn't just acquire JT Miller for nothing. I have a big topic coming up this show, which I think I'm going to cover next. Who is the king of New York? Jalen Brunson versus Aaron Judge. I've seen this talked about a lot, but first, I have a little bit of announcement to make. On Wednesday, February 19th, there's going to be a resume building workshop from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. in the Murphy Center, room 319. Registration is required for that. But yeah, let's get into this topic, this little debate here I have going because I think it's gonna really be an interesting topic here. So I'm gonna go over Aaron Judge, and I want to compare it Aaron Judge versus Jalen Brunson, the time Jalen Brunson has been in New York, because it's unfair to look at Judge's whole career against Jalen Brunson's. Yes, I'm gonna mention some things that have happened in his whole career, but I also want to take mostly into account the time Jalen Brunson has been here because it has been a short amount of time. So, Aaron Judge, he has 2 MVPs, should be 3. Everyone knows that 2017 MVP should have been Aaron Judge's, but they gave it to Jose Altuve. I'm over it at this point. Judge has 2 MVPs. Not something I'm worried about. The main goal is a World Series, but when talking about it, Aaron Judge versus Jalen Brunson, Judge does have 2 MVPs in the time that Jalen Brunson has been in New York. He is the American League home run record holder for a single season with 62. Obviously, a feat in and of its own, held by a Yankee before, broken by a Yankee, was a huge media frenzy with Aaron Judge chasing this. I was at almost every game down the stretch when Aaron Judge was chasing the record. Unfortunately, did not get to see home run number 60, 61, or 62. Just how the cookie crumbled there. Um, but that was a feat that it gave meaning to a season that didn't have much meaning because the Yankees did miss out on the playoffs that year. But Yankees fans were able to rejoice in the fact that they had Aaron Judge. Yes, they were nervous about the fact Aaron Judge is a free agent next year. What's going to happen? But he ultimately landed up staying here. Another thing to note, Aaron Judge is a 6-time All-Star. Yes, All-Star games are voted on by the fans. Big markets usually do really well in those, but it is a big market versus a big market, so All-Star appearances do matter. Since Jalen Brunson has been here, Aaron Judge has 2 All-Star game appearances. Just this year, Aaron Judge has been to the World Series, and he's been to 3 American League Championship Series. This is a big thing I wanna note on because at this point in time, Jalen Brunson has yet to be to an Eastern Conference Finals. Aaron Judge has been to 3 of the baseball equivalents. That has to be taken into account. You can't just be no, like, you have to look at that. You have to look at the fact Aaron Judge has been to 3 American League Championships. Since Jalen Brunson has been here, he's been to 2. This is obviously something you have to look at. And I just realized I said something that was wrong. The year Aaron Judge hit 62, they did make the playoffs that year. They just didn't do so, I try to forget. But yes, they've been to 2, American League Championship Series. Since Jalen Brunson has been here, Aaron Judge in his whole career has been to has been to 4 actually. I shorted him 1. He's been to 4. But obviously at first glance you think it's Judge. But then you have to look at the negatives. When you're a New York Yankee, your end goal is to win the World Series, is to get to the top, is to have that commissioner's trophy in your hands. And that is what defines you as a Yankee. And that also needs to be taken into account because the Knicks and Yankees have had 2 completely different histories. The Knicks have historically struggled for the past really half a century, and the Yankees have been a dominant force for the past half a century. So you also have to look at it like that. You can't just look at it at one side. So, looking at the negatives, obviously, Game 5 World Series, Yankees have the lead. Aaron Judge drops the ball and opens the floodgates for the Dodgers to win that game and win the series. Obviously, a terrible moment for Aaron Judge. It's probably a moment he'll never forget. It's a moment I'll never forget because I remember exactly where I was. I remember exactly who I was with. And it was a moment no Yankee fan wants to remember, and I could just think about what Aaron Judge thinks about it because the fans were let down, and Aaron Judge let down the fans. And Aaron Judge is always a guy that wants to do what's right for the fans. He stayed in New York for less money. So I think that in and of itself shows Aaron Judge always has the fans' best interest at heart. Now you look at his postseason stats, it makes it somehow even worse. He has a 205 career batting average, 318 on base percentage, 450 slugging, and a 768 OPS. Now, 205 average, under league average. League average is around right now, I want to say 242 it was last season. It went up a little bit. 318 on base percentage, league average around, I want to say 325. So yet again, under there. 450 slugging, that's above league average. League average is around 400. So that all adds up to a 768 OPS, which is above league average. League average is 700, maybe a little above there, but the general consensus is above 700 OPS. You're above league average. So in general, pretty good. But you look at it since Jalen Brunson has joined the New York Knicks. He has a 165 average, a 284 on base, a 365 slugging, and a 649 OPS. All of those being way under league average. The past few years, since Jalen Brunson has been here, I'd say the conversation looks a little bit better for Jalen Brunson right now. And when you talk about the standard of the New York Yankees, I mentioned it before, is to win the World Series. If regular season stats were the deciding factor, Judge blows Brunson away, but you have to look at the conversation as a whole. So now let's look at Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, top five MVP last year, second All NBA team last year as well, top five coaches player of the year in both full seasons with the Knicks. And since coming to the Knicks, his regular season slash line is a 26.4 points per game, 2.4 3-pointers, a field goal percentage of 547, and an 83.2% free throw percentage. I added free throws. Not a lot of people want to talk about free throws, but it's still a big part of the game. Lost in the Knicks probably a few playoff games last year because they had Mitchell Robinson at the line a few times. So I'm hoping that don't happen this year because now they have Carl Anthony Towns, a guy that has been phenomenal for them. But that's besides the point. All of Jalen Brunson's stats have been out of this world. You see, he puts his all every day on the court, but I can't use that as an advantage for him because Aaron Judge is the same way. Aaron Judge puts his all day in and day out. He comes in, he's ready to do whatever Aaron Boone wants. Aaron Boone has spoken to him about hitting two or three. He's more than willing to do both. So I don't think that's an advantage for either player there. Now, looking at Jalen Brunson's postseason numbers, the first he had the first playoff series win since 2012 to 2013. The Knicks had made the playoffs a few times since then, but they had yet to win a playoff series, and the Knicks did it twice since Jalen Brunson's been here. I mean, that has to be brought into account. The Yankees standard is win the World Series. The Knicks standard to me was win a playoff series. Now I think it's make the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think next year we can say if the Knicks win the Eastern Conference Finals, it's to win the finals next year. I don't think we're there yet, personally. I think the Celtics are just different. I saw the Celtics play the Knicks, and the Celtics absolutely obliterated the Knicks. Given they did not have OG Anunoby that game, and I don't think they had Mikal Bridges either. if not, unfortunately, Jalen Brunson got hurt in 2024 as it looked like the Knicks were about to make their trip back to the Eastern Conference Finals, something the Knicks haven't done since the 1999 to 2000 season. That is a ginormous accomplishment there if Jalen Brunson had been able to do it. And I think that might be the deciding factor, the fact that Jalen Brunson has not been to an Eastern Conference final. It's just hard for me to think about that. But you look at Jalen Brunson's postseason stats. Has Jalen Brunson put his all on the court while he's been on the biggest stage? Jalen Brunson has averaged 30.3 points, 6.6 assists, and 4 rebounds in 24 games for the Knicks in the playoffs in his career. Those are all absurd numbers. Jalen Brunson has done everything possible while he's been on the court for the Knicks to win in the postseason. Now, do I think the conversation comes down to if individual stats are valued over team accomplishments. But I'm going to put it in my opinion. And to me, you have to look at the team as a whole. You have to look at what Aaron Judge has done in his time here. And I think Aaron Judge has come up short on the biggest stage in his time with the Yankees, while Jalen Brunson has done all he could in the postseason, but has not reached the Eastern Conference Finals yet. So to me, they've both fallen short. So it comes down to individual statistics. And Aaron Judge has 2 MVPs. Jalen Brunson does not. Judge has come up short in the postseason. Jalen Brunson has put his all out there in the postseason. So to me, there is no definitive king of New York until one of them wins a title. Sticking with the New York theme, I wanna talk about the New York Knicks. Preparing for the second half after having their best record, in a first half in nearly 60 years since the '70s. I think I saw 71, 72. They had 35 wins. They had 36 before the All-Star break this year. Obviously, an incredible first half for the New York Knicks. Hopefully, a sign of things to come, especially when we get Mitchell Robinson back. Obviously, the Knicks didn't make a move at the deadline. Some people are a little iffy on that. To me, the Knicks have everything they need to win in-house right now, and in order to make a move, they would have had to give up a piece that is vital to them, and I don't think that that is a necessary thing to do when you're the New York Knicks because you have one of the best starting 5 in all of basketball. I think once you get Mitchell Robinson back, it solves a lot of the bench issues, a lot of the depth issues that have been talked about. The fact that the starters have received a bulk of the playing time, but that's a Tom Thibodeau offense. That's a Tom Thibodeau basketball team. He plays his starters a lot. It is known. It was a worry with Carl Anthony Towns when he came over here, and he's been able to handle it perfectly, better than even I thought. But I want to highlight one player's contributions to this team because he was the deciding factor to me whether or not the Knicks would be competing in the first half without Mitchell Robinson, and that's Josh Hart. Josh Hart is 28 points from a career high in points, 165 rebounds away from a career high in rebounds, 29 assists away from a career high in assists, and 1 start away from a career high in starts. Keep in mind, this is all in the first half before the second half even started. And Josh Hart was already at those markers. You know what? I just got a text from Christian. Josh Hart is the real king of New York. Josh Hart is. Josh Hart is. He puts us all. No. Uh Josh Hart's great. I think he's the anchor of the New York Knicks. I think he's the one that keeps the whole team together. I think when they acquired him at the deadline a few years ago, yeah, they gave up a lot and a lot of people were questioning why, but I think we're all seeing it now. Josh Hart is a lot better than we all thought. He's definitely a guy I want on my team. I want him out there. The energy he brings is absolutely hysterical. He's always putting smiles on the rest of the players' faces. And if that isn't enough, like that positive energy, and it's boosted his own play as well as his teammates, I feel like. Josh Hart is the anchor. He's the one that everyone points to. He's the one that everyone makes fun of, but he's also the guy that's there. He's the rock. He's the rock of the New York Knicks. He's the foundation. He's the guy that you can count on to be in there every day, put his all in there. He could play every single minute of a game, and I don't think I've ever seen his game decline throughout the course of a game. Josh Hart has been absolutely phenomenal, and I just wanted to highlight his performance there. Sticking with basketball, something that happened a few weeks ago now, probably around 2 weeks ago now, but something I still need to touch on because of how big of an impact it had on the basketball world. The Mavs trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers for Anthony Davis and a first round pick. My initial reaction was I was just ready to go to bed. Can everyone stop blowing up my phone? And then I looked down and saw it was that trade. And I was like, wait a minute. This is crazy because you just gave up a top three player in all of basketball for someone that's not even the best at his position. Someone that can't even stay on the court half the time in Anthony Davis. Someone that is exponentially older than Luka Doncic. It's a situation of what were the Mavs thinking? What were they thinking to pull off a trade like this that will shake up the whole basketball world and not shop around the best player in basketball? You don't think they could have gotten something better for Luka? Is something that is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it, because the Knicks gave up 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, imagine how many picks the Mavericks could have gotten if they would have called even one more team outside of LA. Just something I feel like is it's making the fans that already have a disdain for large markets have an even bigger hatred for them because we're allowing both LA teams, the Dodgers and the Lakers in their two respective sports to bully everyone else. The Lakers now have Luka, one of the best players in the NBA now, and LeBron James, one of the best players of all time. Not the best of all time. That's Michael Jordan. That's gonna be another debate one day. Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. A topic that I really love talking about, but that's a topic for another day. Um, yeah, I just really wanted to talk about that because my reaction was, I just had finished watching the Royal Rumble, saw Jey Uso win, and was conflicted on that, and I had something else that completely made me forget about that in the Luka Doncic trade. Um, Talking about wrestling, I've dropped a few hints here. Starting after Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks, I wanna say, maybe next week, honestly. Um, the Monday following Elimination Chamber, I will be releasing my first episode of my wrestling podcast with my friend Christian, who's been on the show before, and just wanted to put that out there if anyone's interested in professional wrestling. It's something I don't have time to talk about on here, so I'm gonna take a personal avenue to talk about that. But let's move on to baseball. A lot to talk about in baseball. Um, One thing that's really bothering me is the amount of demands players are making right now to their teams. Um, Rafael Devers has followed a trend that I feel like it has to go back even further than this. If you look deeply into it, who really started this trend of This is my position and I'm gonna stay here. You can't move me. Rafael Devers stated he only plays third base. He does not want to be moved to first. He does not want a designated hit. His players have come out and advocated for him a little bit. Tristan Casas said, "Yeah, Alex Bregman should be the second baseman. Rafi should be the third baseman because Rafi's the best third baseman in baseball." I love to see teammates sticking up for each other, but I feel like that's not the time. Alex Cora said it perfectly. And this is a guy I have no respect for because he's a known cheater. He's cheated multiple seasons with the Astros and a suspected season with the Red Sox. Nothing confirmed there. But he said it perfectly. Heim Bloom isn't here anymore. You signed your extension with Heim Bloom, who said you're going to be the future third baseman. He's not here anymore. There's no one to protect you anymore. The team has the authority to put you wherever they feel you have the best chance of making the team win. And this is something that used to just be accepted by players. They didn't have to be told it again. It's like clocking into your job and they have to tell you your role every single time. Your role is not just your role affects everyone in on your team, and it affects everyone's chance of winning, not just your own. If you wanna be a leader on this team, you have to take that responsibility of, "I'm willing to go to first, I'm willing to go to second, I'm willing to go to third, I'm willing to go to short, I'm willing to go wherever the team needs me in order to win." And it's crazy we're seeing that from seasoned vets such as Jose Altuve moving to left field. I don't know how that's gonna work out in a left field built like Minute Maid Park, or I'm not sure what the new name for it is because it's not Minute Maid Park anymore. But if for the audience that doesn't know, their left field has a wall similar to the Green Monster, not as drastic, but it's pretty high up there, probably around 20 feet high. Um, and the balls will take some really weird hops off of there, especially since it juts out in a triangle in left center field, and they take weird hops. Jose Altuve, not the tallest guy, neither am I, not to pick on him, but the ball might go ricocheting over his head, but even he is willing to move there because the team believes that that's the best chance they have to win. This is a guy that's played second base his whole career. He's gonna go into the Hall of Fame, go down as one of the best second basemen of all time. And he's willing to move positions in one off season because this is what the team feels they need to win. And that's the characteristics a leader, um, a franchise staple has. Aaron Judge moved to center field last year when Juan Soto came in. A position, yeah, he's played a little bit, but everyone knows right field's the better position for him because not only is it his better defensive position, but it's a better position for him longevity-wise, career-wise. When you look at the toll that center field and right field take on your body, right field takes less of a toll on your body than center field does. It's just the way it is. And Aaron Judge went over to center field, no questions asked. A guy that has had injury issues in the past, a guy that has been talked about even moving to first base to preserve his career a little bit. This is someone that is willing to do anything for his team to win. I talked about it in Who's the King of New York, and I want to reiterate that Aaron Judge will do whatever it takes for the Yankees to win. He's stated he wants to bat third this year, but if Aaron Boone decides second is the best for the team, he said that he is more than willing to bat second this year. That's a guy that wants the team to win. There's another example of that. Mike Trout, a guy that has missed a lot of time recently, had a discussion with the Angels front office. They said, "Hey, we think right field is a better decision not only for the team to win, but for your body." And Mike Trout, more than happy to move over to right field after being a generational center fielder. That's a move not a lot of people want to make because it diminishes your career a little bit. Saying, "Hey, this guy wasn't able to stick in center field his whole career." That has to go into the account on maybe if he's a Hall of Famer or not. But I think it's also beneficial to Mike Trout but it's also something he definitely could have said no to. He's Mike Trout. He was gonna be the greatest player of all time, but unfortunately, injuries derailed his career, and something that's probably not in the cards anymore, but the Hall of Fame definitely is, and he's probably definitely thinking about his Hall of Fame candidacy and thinking, "Is moving to right field really the best move for me? Is moving to right field the best move for my legacy? Probably not." But it's the thing that the team needs to win. So I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be more than happy to do it because this is a team that I have pledged my allegiance to by signing my contract extension, which Rafael Devers has also done. This is going on with the Yankees as well, with Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman, there was a little bit of a controversy going on because he did not report to camp when the other pitchers and catchers did, but I don't think enough people know he has a stipulation in his contract where he is allowed to miss when pitchers and catchers report and report with the other position players. He did not even have to report the 2 days after when he did. He could have waited the whole week, but he wanted an extra day with his kid. He's involved in a lot of trade rumors right now. You guys don't know. The Yankees are desperately trying to offload his $18 million because they need that money to go out and get a third baseman, which is even more essential now that something else has happened I'm going to touch on in just a minute. Um, I think when you talk about this whole situation, baseball clubs are giving their players a little bit too much leniency when it comes to what they do for the team. This should not be an open discussion. Your manager says this is what we think the best case scenario for winning is. Yeah, think it over. Think if you think the same way. You could bring it up to your manager. Hey, I don't agree with you. You guys could talk it out, but you don't go straight to the press and say, I'm not playing that position because I don't want to. That's not how life works. That's not how it works when you sign a contract. There is not a stipulation in your contract saying, I'm playing third base the rest of my career because that would not be a smart business decision. Because what if the team needs you to play another position? A team is never going to add a position clause in a contract because of that exact reason. If a team needs you at a certain position, they're going to put you there. It's the same at any job you'll ever work at. If they need you in a certain place, they're going to put you there. And these players have to just suck it up a little bit. It sounds a little old fashioned, but it's something that's really, really been bothering me. The fact that these players are just able to decide everything regarding what they contribute to the team. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the organizations that sign these contracts. It's not fair to the investors of the team. This is a financial commitment, and if they want you somewhere, you're making $40 million a year, you should be more than happy to oblige. But another issue with Marcus Stroman was the fact that he told reporters as well, he's a starter, he will not pitch out of the bullpen. It's an iffy topic because I want to defend Strowman. I want to defend him because I feel like he's catching. There's always one guy that's going to catch a brunt of the Yankees fans' hate. I've come to realize, and that's one thing I hate about being a Yankee fan is the fact that we always have to place the blame on somebody. If it's not Strowman, it would be LeMahieu. If it's not LeMahieu, it would be Boone. If it's not Boone, it would be Cashman. If it's not Cashman, it would be Steinbrenner. It just keeps going up the line. And Yankees fans always have to have that one person they dog on. And it just so happens to be Marcus Stroman. But Marcus Stroman saying those comments is not something I can personally defend because I've went on this whole tangent about how I think players have too much power in deciding what position they're going to play. And I think it's all stemmed from the fact that how much money they're making. They're on a little bit of a power trip here. Power trips are tricky because telling someone they're on a power trip is not an easy thing to do. Rafael Devers thinks he's the guy that everyone reports to because he's the guy that's been there. I don't know if he's the longest tenured Red Sox, but he's pretty far up there. He's the guy that was supposed to be the franchise cornerstone when he signed that extension. And when you're a franchise cornerstone, you have to do these things for your franchise to earn the loyalty of the fans. And if I'm a Red Sox fan, I'm a little upset with Rafael Devers for not doing everything that's being asked of him because they gave him that extension that he begged for. There were trade rumors up the wazoo for him. And they finally gave him the extension he was looking for. And he's still ungrateful. There's always something to complain about. And if it's up to anyone, it's gonna be those elite few that always have something to complain about. And that's, to me, what separates the leaders from just the players, is the willingness to do what the team needs to win. And definitely an issue that I'm probably gonna touch on a lot this season because it seems like something that just keeps popping up is players refusing to play certain positions. Now, my last subject of the show is the Yankees and Mets have started off their spring trainings very rocky. Um, Both teams have major injuries. Stanton, a guy that has had a plagued injury history for especially his time with the Yankees. It seems like every other season this guy's going down with something. And now he has elbow tendonitis in both elbows. If Stanton is seriously hurt, the Yankees cannot use money as an excuse to get that final piece. Here's something I really want to stress. The Yankees' third baseman going into opening day is going to be one of these three players. Oswald Peraza, someone who has never shown the minor league talent he had at the major league level. Oswaldo Cabrera, who we've seen what he has, and is probably a replacement player at best. A guy that's great off the bench, great being a utility guy, but a guy that's going to be out there every day for you at third base, a position that's definitely defensively commanding too, and that proved an issue last in the World Series in 2024. The Yankees had Jazz Chisholm out there at third. I like Jazz. I really do. I love the fact that he was able to go over to third base, have minimal problems, but those problems came to light on the biggest stage. He's not a third baseman. He's a second baseman. Brian Cashman said it himself. We acquired Jazz Chisholm to play second base. And obviously that was not in the cards because yet again, another player last trade deadline had refused to move positions in Gleyber Torres. I don't understand this double standard though, with the fact the Yankees want to get Marcus Stroman out as fast as possible, and Gleyber Torres refused to move positions, and he was still on the team. Yes, I understand they tried to trade him. They tried to trade him in years prior, and Gleyber Torres was just doing what was right for him because he was going to be a free agent this all season. I understand all of that. But I think honestly, moving to third base for Glaber would have been a good thing because it would have showed to other teams, hey, this guy can't just only play second base. Maybe he could play third as well. I don't know. You add more tools to the toolbox. Never hurts to me. But I guess I'm wrong on that because a bunch of Major League Baseball players have seemed to throw that argument out the window with refusing to play positions. Talking about that third base problem though, it's one that I've been wrapping my head around and how we fix it. The Yankees are adamant they must get rid of Stroman's contract before they get a third baseman. The Mets are the perfect trade partner right now. You're all probably wondering, what's bro cooking? I am trying to see what works best for both teams because the Mets just had an injury as well. I alluded to it. I talked about it when the Mets signed him. I talked about their rotation all winter. In fact, it's the thing they should have been focused on. And Frankie Montas has went down. In a rotation that is already thin as it is. Frankie Montas has went down. And as a Yankee fan, I tried to warn Mets fans this was gonna happen. Frankie Montas was gonna get hurt. And they were telling me, no, no, trust David Stearns. David Stearns. What has David Stearns done to earn your trust? Can I ask Mets fans that? What has David Stearns done to earn their trust? He's been with the team 2 years. Yes, made the postseason the first year. Great. The guy doesn't have general manager experience. We trust Uncle Steve. Uncle Steve almost ruined your whole future in the first year he had the team by signing two old pitchers in Verlander and Scherzer. They got lucky with the fact that their future might have some hope. Well, definitely has some hope now they have Juan Soto. Sorry. I keep forgetting that. So they definitely have hope there. But what what has he done? I just want to know why the Mets have this blind loyalty to a guy that's barely been there, to a team that has just made the postseason once, could have very well been a fluke year. There's always a fluke team every year. It could have been them. What has David Stearns done for the Mets that makes him different than every other GM in Major League Baseball? Utilizing the financial situation he is given by the owner to try and put the best foot forward on the field. And the fact that the rotation is not complete and already is missing a guy in a rotation filled with question marks. Clay Holmes is the 4 starter, by the way, for the New York Mets. A guy that's never started a game in his career. That's the Mets 4 starter. This conversation, by the way, right here is why I want to have a Mets fan on, because I feel like I'm dogging them all the time, and I want to hear how they're feeling. I really do. I don't mean to rain on their parade, but I know how this goes as a Yankee fan every year that has had blind loyalty in the fact that Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball, and we still can't win the World Series. So don't put your hope all in one person is all I'm trying to say. Don't put your hope all in two people. Put your hope in the team. If you think the team is complete, that's a different story. I've come to realize this as a sports fan. Just because you have one great player, just because you have great leadership, does not mean you're going to win. Doesn't mean that at all. The best team's always going to win. The Dodgers this year are most likely going to win the World Series if the Yankees can't find a third baseman. It's it's definitely different in baseball right now too, because the Dodgers are just so much better than everyone else, and MLB has no issue with it, none at all. Rob Manfred just made a statement today saying he sees nothing wrong with it. Great. So people are gonna abuse the system like they do in real life, which is what sports are meant to ignore people from. A great job, Rob Manfred, for allowing this to happen. All right. I'm gonna start wrapping things up. Next week, Jake Kozak from the Bronx Zoo. Sure, he's gonna have a lot to say on the Yankees third baseman situation. There's one guy he has in mind. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys because I want him to talk about it a lot because it's something he's been very adamant about. And he truly believes it's the best direction for the team. Talked about it last night on an interview. Sure, he's going to talk about it next week with me. Always great being on. Catch you next week with Jake Kozak on Empire State of Sports, Monday at 6:30.